Hello, I'm Father Norm Douglas, Executive Director of Heart to Heart Communications. Welcome to this edition of Spirit at Work, a program in which we interview people about their lives, what matters to them, what their core values are, and especially how they connect their spirituality with their daily work. Here with me is the co-founder of Heart to Heart. He's an attorney, and I like to call him Larry the Lawyer, Larry Vuillemin.
Hello. And I know you may think that a lawyer and a priest talking about spirituality in the workplace might be the beginning of a good joke. But years ago, Norm and I got together and explored the question, how do you practically connect faith, values, ethics with the work that you do, with everyday life? We'll be right back with our guest to explore that further.
Welcome to this segment of Spirit at Work. Our guest today is Sean Fremon. Sean is president of Cole Industries, and we're glad to have you here today.
Thank you, Father Norm.
Oh, Sean. We're obviously not going to talk so much about your work at Cole, and I know you're president there, and you began that company. But I know that just recently in Leadership Akron, you received the 2011 Distinguished Leaders Award from that organization, especially for your involvement with the homeless in our area and that kind of outreach as a business person. Tell us a little bit more about that and how you got involved in the first place.
About 2 years ago, we were part of what's called the point in time count. Every big city in the U.S. has to do an annual count of homeless people in their city, and that information goes to Washington, who dictates it. That information then helps determine how much money comes back into our town. What they do at the point in time count is they basically split the county into different regions, and that night we had woods duty. There were 6 of us, and our goal was to wander through the woods and we knew of some campsites and found many more, and count homeless people and get a sense of demographics and so on and so forth. So that night we happened to find a lot of homeless people in the middle of January at campsites with snow all around them.
Wow. How did that affect you even when you first did that?
Well, we were really pretty surprised to find, number one, there were campsites in January, especially from a business standpoint. I don't work in that business, so we were really surprised to find campsites. They were really surprised, the folks that were living at the campsites, that we were there in the first place. So we were amazed at that. We were also amazed to find out that not a lot of people visited these folks at the campsites. So all needed housed, and all were living in the winter in tents.
Yeah. I'd be real interested, knowing you're a family man, businessman, what motivated you to go out into the woods to look for homeless at these campsites? What was going on in you?
Well, I was with a buddy of mine, Bruce Oberlin, who works for Cornerstone Church, and our initial group of 6 included Sherry Sheets from AMHA and Keith Stahl from CSS. We also had 2 other folks. One at the time was from the census. We were walking up and down ravines, and when we went back, we were really surprised that there were people back in the woods. So I called up a buddy of mine, and I said, didn't that bother you a little bit? He says, yeah. I said, well, tell you what, I was in the military. I've got these big green tubular duffel bags. We can, let's go more prepared. Because the night of the point in time count, I think we had girls' jackets and we had a few bus passes and some McDonald's gift certificates, but we didn't have anything else. So we went back again and tried again. And what we found was that people were very, very engaging, and also would help us help them. And so at that point, the wheels started turning, and we started making it a monthly outreach into the woods and calling on people, other business people, faith-based people, social service people, and ultimately doctors to go back with into the woods with mobile homeless outreach teams. So since then, we've been doing it every month with the really intended goal of engaging with people, finding out what services they need, and then eventually getting them housed.
Yeah, and how has that gone over this time? Have you been able to get a significant number of housed, or do they say, hey, we like it out here in the woods and this is our home?
If you see what it looks like back in the woods, nobody likes it out there. It's very difficult living. There aren't water sources. In the wintertime, if you get wet, I mean, you're done. It's just very difficult living. So depending on who they are, what gender they are, whether they're a veteran, they will tend to fall into one area or another. So for example, when we engage with veterans, the VA gets involved, and we've housed nearly all the veterans that we've run into back in the woods. So that's been a real touchdown pass for the group. It's pretty neat when somebody you meet, first of all, doesn't think they can be housed or doesn't know where they can get help, gets help.
Yeah, it's got to be satisfying.
Prior to airing, you were discussing with us the homeless population and certain of the demographics. Would you mind describing that for the audience? Who populates these campsites?
Well, it's men and women. Nationwide, about 50% of the homeless population has a mental illness. So about 30% are veterans. So when we go out in the woods, you can make the case that if they're living in the woods in the middle of the winter, there's a good sense that there may be some sort of mental illness at play. Some are old, some are in their 20s. It's kind of all over the place. So the demographics is really everybody. Collectively, there's usually a couple of steps that get missed, which get them there. And a lot of the folks that walk back there with us, so in our groups, can identify with that somebody's missed a couple things or something's gone wrong, and they go from a productive life to homelessness. So there's all sorts of things at play. It doesn't fall into one box, so to speak.
What about people saying, oh, you're just being a do-gooder here, you're not helping these people be responsible, why do that for people that are just going to be dependent on your help?
Well, number one, they're not dependent much on our help. We're information type people. We bring them food to talk to them and engage, but the reality of it is if somebody wants to give me a hard time about giving somebody some food, so be it.
What has been the role of I guess the collaboration with certain teams that come together to help you in your service to the homeless? You know, what governmental agencies, who else helps you along the way to help serve this population?
Well, depending on who they are, most of the key players have had their fingers in it somewhere, whether they're housing people or they're the Veterans Administration. They've come with us, and over the course of time, it's been well over 100 different community leaders that have been involved in the outreach hikes. So, for example, if you engage with somebody and they say, well, you know, I'm a veteran, the person that's part of the VA is right there, can do something. Through the HUD-VASH program, which is a rapid rehousing for veterans, they've been able to meet people and then ultimately get them housed. And these are long-term homeless people. This isn't a guy that's been on the street for a couple of weeks. Two fellas, 3 and 7 years respectively, have been housed strictly by engaging with them, going to their house. And it oftentimes doesn't work the other way. They get a lot of no's, whether they're coming as a first line at any given organization. But when you go to their house, it sort of triggers them, or it's a catalyst for them to start the ball rolling.
Now, you mentioned too, faith communities get involved also, right? And how do you see that whole role of faith communities or the spiritual aspect of all of this?
Well, everybody has their role. So we go into the campsites and everybody has their role. If you're a faith guy and the guy wants to pray, then that's what happens.
Yeah.
If you're a doctor and the guy needs a checkup, then that's what happens. If you're somebody who has keys to housing, then that guy gets the job. And so on and so forth. So everybody has their role and just does their job collectively together, and with, again, the ultimate goal of getting them housed. If you've seen the movie The Soloist, that may be as far as you get. You may meet people who are unemployable. You may meet people with severe mental illnesses who are living in the woods or under a tarp or whatever, but that's the ultimate goal, is to bring services and get them housed, and we've been doing that.
Yeah.
Without politicizing this issue, but you know, it's bandied about the role of government in helping the marginalized. What do you see as a business leader, and more importantly, your personal involvement, what do you see as an appropriate role of government in service to the marginalized people in society?
That's a tough question, because I'm not a government guy. But I think when everybody works together, it's worked in this kind of approach has worked in Omaha, it's worked in Chicago, it's worked in New York, it's worked in Phoenix, many big cities. We didn't use this roadmap, but in other big cities where you bring people from different skill sets to the table and all work together, the ultimate goal of reducing homelessness is a real goal that can be achieved. And with Summit County is especially good at collaboration. People do talk to each other in Summit County. I'm not sure that you could pull this kind of thing off in some other cities in Ohio. Maybe in Cleveland, maybe not. But in Akron, people actually play in the sandbox together really well. And it allows for that. And they like that. And you tie in an organization like Leadership Akron, where coming out of the gate, they say, go play well. And you talk about playing well on boards at the retreat every year. You can get people all working together for the common good. And when we started, it was just the right thing to do. That's it. There was no goals. It was just the right thing to do. This is what it is. This is what it could be. And how do we get all the people to get from here to here? And that's it. There's not much more than that. And it's great to see somebody housed. That's our touchdown pass. That's our, if you talk to social service people, that's the big one.
Can I do a quick follow-up? What makes it work well, or how is it that the folks are able to play well? And what message could be delivered to other organizations or teams from your experience with the teams that you work with?
That's a good question. Norm might be a better candidate for that. People just work well. I think everybody wants to see good things in Summit County. I mean, if you take an organization where collaboration, you keep reading about collaboration. It's a $10 word that you see everywhere. So-and-so is collaborating with so-and-so. They get it. And there's not the kind of turf battles that take place in other cities that we have. There may be a few here and there, but nothing to the extent of the bigness of other cities. And so when you can collaborate, that's great. And one of the great things with us is when we're walking along the railroad tracks and you've got one person who's part of, say, a social service world and the business people, and those two people may never have met each other. But when we're going from campsite to campsite and those people are talking to each other, it then becomes collaboration between those two people for the common, let's go engage with the community.
What would you say, like you're a president of your company, obviously engaged there, trying to do good work there. What would you say to other business leaders who say, hey, just stay involved with your company, you got to pay attention there, don't have time for all this community stuff. What would you say to people in business that, hey, that maybe calls them to a greater consciousness of the wider community?
You know, I think business people, many of them have that, but they may not necessarily have the way to connect in some. So many business people, and a lot of the ones I know, do have that and do engage with the community. And they do it in different ways, but business people, I think, ultimately want goodness for a community too. I mean, they want to engage.
Well, hey, thank you for engaging with us here today, and it's a reminder to all of us that this is an important issue and everybody can do something to make a difference in our community. Good to have you here as our guest. Stay tuned. Larry and I will be back for a brief closing segment. Hi, I'm Father Norm Douglas.
And I'm Larry Vuillemin. We founded Heart to Heart Communications to strengthen the connections between people's inner spirit, ethical values, and daily work. We believe that this focus upon the inner development of individuals is a necessary foundation for enhancing workplace relationships, purpose, ethics, wellness, and productivity.
Heart to Heart Communications offers values-based leadership development programs that exist to guide and inspire employees, especially leaders who want to make a difference. The unique curriculum is grounded in the belief that there's a strong connection between employee personal and spiritual development and the vitality and success of every business.
You may not know who we are, but you do know who you are and what you believe in, and how you feel about the importance of living out your values in a vital work environment.
Let us come into your company and show you the benefits of a more productive and creative environment. Work can become more exciting, more purposeful, and more fulfilling when employees are growing individually and together.
Consider the idea of a 60 to 90 minute program on renewing the purpose and spirit of your relationships at work. Call us, email us, get in touch with us. We'd be happy to connect with you.
Welcome back to our closing segment in which Larry and I have a brief conversation about Sean and what he had to share with us. I was struck, first of all, how Sean, in a very down-to-earth way, shows a real sense of compassion. You know, that there's folks out there we need to be aware of and have a compassionate response to. The other word that struck me in his talk was collaboration, you know, and being in Akron for all these years, and I think he says it well, that in Summit County, a lot of people really do work together to make a difference. And I think another way he inspires people is because Sean models the way of compassion and collaboration. And that's an important aspect of effective leadership, to model the way.
And I really enjoyed his answer when I asked, what makes teams work like this? And he very simply said, people want to see good things happen. And not only does it happen when people are collaborating, you know, because they envision good things, but also they achieve good things. And I was reminded of something Nelson Mandela recently said in an ad I was watching on TV. He said, the goodness of people is a flame that will never be extinguished. And you know, Sean is an example of that. You know, the flame is not being extinguished at all. And in Summit County, that flame is alive and well, obviously.
Well, thank you, and thank all of you who are listening. And maybe it gives each of us a chance to step back, reflect, and say, what good am I already doing? And is there a good I could be further doing for the benefit of our community and our human family? God bless, and we'll see you at our next segment.